Leadership is fantastic. Actually, it's evolved over time from, the Hitlers of the world who were very, very autocratic. The issue with us is that we stop trying. So, whenever you have like an altercation with an employee, actually, you come back feeling way worse than they do.
Welcome to the Coffee Q Show, where we sit down with some of the brightest minds in leadership for candid conversations over coffee. From insights on steering organizations to personal stories that shaped their journey, we bring you the human side of leadership. So grab your coffee, sit back, and join us for a fresh take on the leaders beyond the boardroom. Welcome to the first episode of the Coffee Q Show. Today, we are honored to host Aditi Balbir, an entrepreneur in sustainability, AI, and ecotourism. Aditi is currently co-founder at Eco Ratings, her dream venture. Dream because she saw this venture in her dream. She has also been the founder and CEO of V Resorts, a sustainable tourism organization. Aditi is a true trailblazer, both in the world of business as well as in women leadership. So, welcome Aditi to the show. How are you doing? Yeah.
Thanks, Ekta. Very nice to be here. And thank you for saying all those nice things about me.
I think you deserve it, Aditi. And we had a briefing session before this interview, and what I came to know about you, I think you really deserve, all these words and many more to come. Okay, so welcome to the first episode of the show, Aditi, the Coffee Q show, like we say. Uh, Aditi, how do you define leadership, and what qualities do you think are essential for a leader today?
Yeah, that's a great question to begin with, Ekta. Leadership is fantastic. Actually, it's evolved over time from, the Hitlers of the world who were very, very autocratic to a more democratized sort of an environment, right? And so today, a leader's best quality, I would say, is empathy, because he needs to empathize with everything that's going on around him, everything that's happening in the company, with his employees, with other stakeholders, and then basically figure out his strategy. So that's one of the key elements that you really require for leadership, I would say.
You very well pointed out about empathy. And after speaking to you, I know that you are speaking from the heart, and that's an honest confession that you're saying that yes, empathy is important for leaders. So, Aditi, if I may ask you, during this journey of, being where you are and who you are, who has been your greatest influence or role model, especially, in this leadership journey, and why do you feel that way?
Yeah, so in fact, I've answered this before. That answer has not changed. My role model has always been Oprah. She has been a leader at a time when there was so much racial discrimination. Women were not there at the workplace, and she was the perfect leader because she embodied empathy. She still embodies it, and she could build an empire around it. So, typically we hear about, leadership and how you have to follow the men's way, that is being slightly more autocratic, slightly more authoritative, if I could say. And earlier the view used to be that really to get work done, you have to have a strict hand, discipline is key. From those days, you can actually see how things have progressed, and Oprah never used those tools. She always used empathy. She listened to people, she heard out their story. She's the best listener, no? And that's how she was able to create an empire around her. So she is the true embodiment. And in today's day, trust me, the people we are working with are millennials, are Gen Z. They don't care. Yeah. If you're going to say, if you're going to be a little bit harsh also, they will, get up and they will leave. For them, their mental wellness and their mental stability is way more important than any job. So it's not like us, it's not like our gen that was like, oh my god, we have to stick through it, we have to have resumes which show 15 years of work experience in one place to be considered stable. Those concepts don't exist anymore. And therefore, at this, junction, your IQ could be high, could be medium, but your EQ's got to be high. And trust me, I'm a person who had to work on this. My IQ was always higher than my EQ, maybe it is even today. But I had to work on this consciously to be able to become the leader that I want to become.
Thank you so much, Aditi, for mentioning Ofra, because she is one of my role models as well. And her journey is really inspiring. What she does, on screen, off screen, I think it's phenomenal. So thank you so much for that. Now you've, listed two very important points: listening and empathy. Yeah. Which are actually the core of leadership and very, very important in today's leadership scenario. So, let me ask you, going by the qualities that you feel are important in leadership, can you share with us any challenging moment in your career and how you overcame it, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a business person?
Yeah, lots of. I mean, challenges is what entrepreneurs do, right? So, in my previous venture, in fact, I mentioned to you on our call also, that was not truly my venture, right? There was a board and there was a bunch of investors who had actually put me forth as the CEO to manage the company, something that very few people know. So during that journey, people felt that, I'm the founder, I should be the boss. I never had the feeling of being a boss. I was always reporting to a structure of many, many people. I had no woman on the board. And before the board meeting, which used to happen very frequently in our case, I used to have a sleepless night because I knew that I would be berated. I knew that, a lot of my decisions would be questioned. And I used to really not look forward to that at all. So I think I started that journey from 2012, okay, where I used to only listen at board meetings. I would not speak up. And till say 2017, 2018, when I realized that these guys know very little of my business because I'm running my business. I know way more of my business than they know. And everything is not strategic anymore. A lot of it is implementation focused. And then I realized that, okay, I'm maybe better than them because I'm there. I'm doing it on a daily basis. They come in every 3 months and give some gyan. So that was when I really got my confidence and I started speaking up. And frankly, after that, I don't think I listened to anybody. I did what I thought was best. And it always ended up being the right thing to do. So, when we look at leadership also, it's always an evolving journey. I don't know how I will be 5 years later. You really can't predict, right? But confidence obviously has to be there. Without confidence, you can't be a leader. So so these were some of the challenges. It takes time to get over. I don't think anybody should be daunted by that. It takes time to evolve, time to understand, time to grasp things, time to build your EQ, IQ, all those sort of things. So it was a journey for me, but I was very happy how it sort of turned out later.
Thank you so much, Aditi, for sharing this example, this experience of yours with our audience. Because many times we get daunted and we get overpowered by and overwhelmed by people around us. And what you just mentioned, that being a single founder in that particular boardroom, you listening to them for a certain period of time till the time you regained your confidence, which stemmed obviously from the experience that you had in your industry, the knowledge of the work that you were doing, it actually changed things for you. Yeah. So a lot of people, in their journey, whether it's business, it's career, their career or whatever, they go through these things. And I think there's a lot to learn from that we should master our field. And that is where I think the leadership also comes in. Yeah, the qualities of leadership, the confidence that you spoke about. So very interesting. Now, let me ask you another question, which is related to your journey. If you can share any important risk that you have taken in your career, and how did it shape your journey where you are today?
Yeah, becoming an entrepreneur was a risk, right? From getting a salary, being very comfortable, not taking any onus, okay? I was suddenly flung into an environment where first I had to put in money. That was like a concept that was, very unheard of for me. I said, why do I have to put my own money? I don't understand this concept at all, right? I mean, am I not working? Aren't you supposed to pay me? So the first couple of months, a couple, nahi, in fact, the first year went in me putting part of my salary back into the company so that I could get that equity. And for me, that was one of the biggest risks that I took, that I put in money behind a venture where I wasn't even the boss, frankly. But to get founder status, I had to put in something, have some skin in the game, like the investors said. So it was a very big risk. I feel I would have done really well in my career if I just remained in the investment line. Now there are so many women in investing as well. So I think I would have done well even in that career path. But this whole thing about me suddenly becoming an entrepreneur was a huge risk. It was something that people didn't quite like at home either. They said that you're doing well, everything is going well. Why do you need to suddenly become an entrepreneur? Because obviously they also understood that it's going to be very hard in the initial years, right? And it's not like a salary where you see an increment coming your way every year, or it doesn't work like that. Increments work on the basis of how much the investors are comfortable giving you, or how much they're comfortable with you drawing that salary. So I mean, it was a very different world. Absolutely. I mean, for me, it was a completely new world, and it was one of the biggest risks that I took. But it really, really paid off, because one, I understood the sort of person that I am. So I kind of understood why I was generally always low-key frustrated in corporate jobs, didn't want to be there for too long, hated this punching in at 9 a.m. and leaving at 6 a.m. And I hated all this actually. So I've kind of figured that, okay, maybe I hated it because that was really not the person I was supposed to be. And then just being focused on doing what I was supposed to do and not looking at the overall arching, I mean, strategy. The concept of strategy is what I realized when I went to V Resorts. So I kind of found myself. I found that, okay, this is what I'm suited to do. जैसे कहते हैं ना, आपका धर्मा क्या है? So I found that in V Resorts. So it paid off very, very well. And I obviously after that figured that I couldn't go back to doing what I was doing earlier. And once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur.
So Aditi, after all this experience that you have had, how would you define your leadership style today? Okay. And how do you feel it has evolved significantly with the experiences that you had?
It's completely changed. So, I had a very large team at V Resorts, and like I said, I only learned from the men, right? So there was always a thing of, oh, they won't listen to you if you're not disciplined, if you're not strict. You need to be a very, very authoritative. I was downright mercurial, I would say, because the traits that we were seeing in the men, like the Steve Jobs or the Elon Musk of the world, etc. Those were the traits that I tried to embody in my first time. And like I said, yeah, leadership to kuch hota hi nahi. It's basically you have to get work done, right? So I felt that would probably be the right way of doing things, and especially because a large part of that workforce was at the resort level. So these were local people from small villages. So they would only respect and talk to a woman if you were very, very strong and if you were very authoritative. That was what was told to me. Frankly, that's not true at all. Okay. The amount of respect I got from them, I had to not be. In fact, I couldn't be authoritative with them. Yeah, I had so much love for them because they were already doing what I needed them to do. Kuch coaching ki zarurat nahi thi. It was intrinsic to them. So in fact, that never happened. I was more authoritative with the people at the corporate level than I was at the resort level. And later on, I realized that when you are in this particular, or again, you're in a persona that is not yourself, you are more unhappy. So whenever you have like an altercation with an employee, actually you come back feeling way worse than they do. you come back, your health gets affected and everything. So it really hits you in some place, right? And so I decided that whatever I do, the next venture that I take up has to be filled with joy. It has to be joyful for me, for my employees. And in this venture, all my employees are really young girls and boys, right? They're all techies. They're in their 20s, yeah. And they're so responsible. I feel, again, I feel a lot of love for them because they're so responsible even at 21, 22. I remember my days, yeah, nobody ever thought about a job also at that time. So, I'm so happy that I changed my style, because with them altercation की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. You don't need it. You can just tell them what you need to get done and they'll do it. So I think it's changed completely. I want people to be happy. I want people who work with me to be happy. I want people around me to be happy. And I want to go to work. Yeah, I'm spending all my time at work. So I want to go to work feeling good, feeling positive. And that's the kind of leader I am. I've figured out that, कोई एक जना 2 दिन की leave ले लेता है, तो there's no big deal that happens. You don't have to come screaming at them कि आप कहाँ थे, आपने ये नहीं किया. ये ज़रूरत नहीं है यार. You don't need all these things now. So I'm quite happy about the decision that I took, and I try to be as empathetic as I can. And I shared with you on the call, I still struggle with patience. So obviously the best way to develop an employee is to spend a lot of time in training and development, and that is something which I still have very little patience for. I'm usually outsourcing that part of training, etc., to somebody. So I think I still struggle with that a little bit, to be patient, but I'm definitely more empathetic, for sure.
Thanks, Aditi. Thanks for sharing that from an autocratic leader, and trying to prove yourself in a man's world. I don't want to say that, but yes, that's true. You actually turned out to be the people-friendly leader that you are today. Thank you so much. And in between, such a joyful experience of being the leader that you are today, I just want to ask a question that have you ever taken any unpopular decision, okay, which you wanted to, which you had to take, you didn't want to take, and what was the impact of that?
Yeah, lots of them, decisions are usually best for the company, so they are usually unpopular. So abhi recently also, we had we have these restricted holidays like everybody has, right? So that was Guru Nanak Ji's birthday, and it was a Friday, so obviously everybody wanted to take off, right? So the entire office said that we are not going to come in and we are planning to take off. So obviously that won't work. No, the entire office can't be shut for one day just because it's a restricted holiday. So we took that decision and we said that I'm sorry, only if you are sick you take it. If you're not, please come to work. So make sure that you're coming. So a lot of the kids, their holidays got cancelled. I felt very bad about it, but it was the unpopular decision, and so yeah. So they came because we couldn't have like one day when no one is working. So we take lots of unpopular decisions, don't worry. But I just find it that it's a very small deal. It's really not a big deal per se. So you have to make it up to them in some which way, right? So then we organized a lunch so that everybody could have, there was something that they looked forward to and stuff, and then we made a joke of the whole thing so that nobody took it too seriously. So those sort of things you have to do. You have to make it up to them. Ultimately you have to find ways to keep them happy. Yeah.
Oh, very true. And in the middle of this, I would like to ask you another question. What are the because you have been on a positive this thing of self-awareness where you have kept on telling yourself that this doesn't matter, problems don't matter. So how do you actually handle setbacks and failures, and what do you think you have learned from them?
See, there are two types of failures, right? There is the small failures that happen every day, right? Like this client said no, or this money didn't come in, that sort of stuff, or this accelerator didn't accept you, or you didn't get through something that you were looking forward to. Those are daily failures, right? And those are easier to deal with. I always say when you're having a bad day, just take the day off. I mean, just finish the day actually. Don't take the day off, finish the day. Don't try to do anything good on that day, because obviously there's some issue with the time. So don't do it, the next day will be better. But so those are much easier to deal with. But an actual failure, the failure of a closure of a business, the failure of a marriage, the failure of anything per se, right? That those failures take a long time to get over. Yeah, I don't know whether you get over them also. They do hurt, okay? And I mean, you could learn from them, you could be better, but they hurt, let's be honest. So there is a little bit of post-traumatic stress syndrome also that happens. You don't want to try that thing again, right? Because you're afraid. But like they say, get back on the horse, and that is the only way that you can get through failure. I think who said this quote? I think Thomas Edison, that the issue with us is that we stop trying, because we're like, oh, failure ho raha hai. We stop trying. We're like, okay, this is not working. And he's like, just try one more time. So that is what you have to do, and you can't do it immediately. You can't say, "Acha, मैं fail हो गई, so I will now do it immediately." It takes time. You have to get through it. There is some PTSD. There is all of that that happens, and then you kind of get back on the horse, and it feels great when you get back on the horse.
Okay, great. So Aditi, we have been having this conversation. We have had a conversation earlier as well. And knowing you, the kind of strong person that you are, I would like to understand, what role does your family play in your role as a business leader?
Super critical. A super critical role. Because see, I mean, they afford, or they give us that time to have flexibility. So if you're at work and you're not able to join a particular family event, that works. Or even if there is a family event that is being planned together, they will first ask you, what is your schedule like, what works for you. So I think that is very, very critical. Yeah, you get the freedom to work, right? And as a mom, you need all the help that you can get. Even if you're not working, you need help, right? And if you're an entrepreneur and you're at your job, like we just discussed, it's a Saturday, it's a Sunday, it doesn't matter. At that time, you need a lot of support from your family. It's almost critical, and that is actually one of the reasons why a lot of the women leave the workplace, right? Because they don't have that family support. Everybody doesn't have family support.
Very true. That support is very, very essential if you really want to achieve something in life. So now, if we go back to your childhood, do you have, would you like to share any story, any anecdote which actually had a lasting impact on you as a person?
Yeah, sure. I think the best thing that you can do for anyone in this world is travel, right? And I was exposed to extensive travel when I was a kid, and my parents made sure that we were out of the country exploring new countries every 6 weeks. I mean, every year we had a 6-week vacation where we would start from Asia, move to Europe, go to the US, and my dad actually worked across these places, right? So most of the travel was structured around his work. He would travel more during the year, but we still traveled for those 6 weeks together comprehensively, right? And I remember my dad used to join us in the evening. During the day, we used to be, with our mom, and we used to be roaming around all over. Every place, nobody used to speak English in those days, from Thailand to Singapore, Japan, Indonesia. I mean, we've gone everywhere to, Europe, and none of the European countries used to speak, back then. Germany and Paris. And my mom, I remember, always could understand the language. So she would be trying to decipher directions because we used to be going somewhere. And I remember the person is speaking in Japanese, she would decipher what he's saying. This was her superpower, okay? And I'm like, how are you understanding? He's saying jum 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 something. I know, how are you getting it? It used to be fascinating for me to watch my mom figure out where we had to go, asking local people and getting us there. So I mean, this was we really had a blast. Yeah, we had a beautiful traveling childhood, I would say, where for every 6 weeks we were not there in the summer, and apart from that, we traveled a lot within India also. I think my mom, dad really loved traveling, and so they obviously put that kida into me also. And like people say, I don't know what is it about you, because I can't stay put. I'm never in one place for more than 2 weeks. I'm moving all the time. And that is something which that has shaped who I am. And trust me, money has nothing to do with it. I don't care where I go, but I always go. If I have to go, I make sure that I'm out of the place. So
I mean, you've already spoken about travel and how it impacts you, but I'll still ask the question, how do you decompress yourself, especially after a stressful day at work? Yeah.
I think the best way to de-stress is to have some me time, relax with a book, maybe. As I grow older, I always was a very extroverted person, but as I'm growing older, I'm feeling that I'm becoming completely introverted. Okay, so I like my own company better than anybody else's. I love to just cuddle up with my dog. My dog is the best stress reliever, by the way. So I like to cuddle up with her in the evening with my book, into my razai. Now it's cold, so it's good fun, and just while away the time. And that is my best way to de-stress.
So, Aditi, we are just closing in on our conversation. So, a few last bits. What is your dream or goal that you still feel that you can or want to achieve?
Yeah, big dream. Yeah, want to be after 50. I want to work on things that need not be generation of money, right? So I want to be wealthy enough that after 50 I live a life that where I can do, or I can prioritize, let's say, other things like artwork. If you can look at the back, you can see a lot of art. That's my artwork. And I want to start working on this actively. I want to take up a project. I want to take up, like, say, a resort, and then do the artwork for it. So I will be going back, by the way, to the resort business at some point of time. I have a lot of goals. Yeah, my goals go up till when I'm 90 years old. So I'm quite clear about what I need to do. And after 50, I don't want to work for money. I want to work for pleasure. That's my goal.
Great. And last but not the least, how do you want to be remembered by the people who are closest to you?
Yeah, by the people who are closest to me, I don't know. That's not my. I haven't even thought about that. जैसे remember करेगा, मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. But I want to be remembered by the world. That's one more goal. But doing something important, something I did which was important enough that people remember me. So that is also one of my goals.
Great. Anyways, so I think we have come down to the rapid fire round now. Okay. Few quick ones, and we will close the conversation with that. So, describe your leadership style in one word.
EQ focused.
One thing you cannot live without.
Books.
What's the most used app on your phone during work hours?
No app. I don't. I won't go into app. Maybe LinkedIn to check out some information, but otherwise no. I don't have any problem with discipline. Yeah, I'm a Virgo.
If you could switch jobs with anyone for a day, who would it be?
Yeah, I'd like to live Oprah's life, but not right now. I'd like to be the talk show host, maybe like you. Not her life now, but her life like when she was doing the talk show.
If you were not in your current profession, what would you be doing?
I'd probably be painting and doing artwork, or I would be writing a book.
Okay, next one. Weekends, Netflix binge or outdoor activities?
Oh, definitely Netflix binge.
Rate in order of preference: Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos.
I don't like either. I don't like any of them. Yeah, they're all terrible. They're terrible leaders. I don't like any of them. I love the wealth they created and the products that they made, but I don't empathize with either of the three.
Ratan Tata, Mukesh Ambani, Azim Premji, who inspires you the most?
Now, these three I like, all three. They all inspire me differently, but I appreciate all of them. I appreciate Mukesh Ambani for the way he works. He doesn't need to work so hard. He's working all the time. I really appreciate that. And Ratan Tata has been the most ethical entrepreneur, as you know. So I appreciate those goals. Azim Premji, same. His commitment to charity, his commitment to building a world-class IT company. All three really inspire me.
If I could have dinner with anyone, living or dead, it would be.
It doesn't need to be dead. I want to, this answer may be controversial, have dinner with Salman Khan. He is my favorite actor of all time, and I still haven't seen him. I've seen everybody else, but I have not come into the purview of seeing him anywhere. So he's the person I want to have dinner with. And I want to have lots of questions to ask him also.
Okay. Good one. Describe yourself in one word.
Driven.
Okay. So great, Aditi. I think that was an awesome conversation that we had today. And again, this is the first episode of the Coffee Q show. We plan to have many more to come, in this entire series. And you are very, very special as a guest because we started this show with you. Thank you so much for being on the show once again. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ekta, and hope you will do really well on this show.
Thank you. Thank you, Aditi.